It's the gut level. It's the gut level. Yeah, it's the gut level. It's the gut level.
You have now tuned into the Gut Level Podcast.
Big Daddy Rum.
Young CB3.
What's up, G? Welcome back.
Back in it. Been a minute, but we back
in
in
the
it.
Game.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's exciting.
No doubt.
Just a little bit here today. Little how's your head? How's your heart? Little gut check. You know?
Good
What's
stuff.
cracking?
Man.
Sounds like something's been cracking. Guess we're going to find out.
Indeed, something has been cracking. It's good to be back, man. Excited to catch up, talk, just have a real free flow conversation. We got no questions today. We got nothing but some real conversation, and I'm excited to have that with you. So, as
No
always,
doubt.
Before we get into it, here's a little disclaimer. Yo, welcome to the Gut Level. As always, we appreciate you tuning in and checking us out. But before we get started, we want to share a couple things with you.
The Gut Level is a safe, inclusive community, you guys. So as long as you identify as a human being, you are welcome here. Whether you're black, white, brown, LGBTQ, gender non-binary, you're welcome to a firsthand, real-time accounting of men's transformation and growth. You might ask, whose? Ours.
Yeah, look, we started this channel to help men evolve, and we create content to break those stereotypes and stigma surrounding men's issues. And we do that by removing that experience of isolation and the aloneness of being a man.
What happens when we remove that? We realize that we are enough and we're a part of a tribe and a community.
Yeah, and disclaimer, we do not have the solutions nor the answers. We're not experts. We are just two regular ass dudes.
Helping to normalize men's humanity one experience at a time. So, like the video, subscribe to the channel, join our community below, and welcome to the Gut Level.
Enjoy the show.
Oh, it's good to be back.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
So we're going back to the OG format, which is that we originally just said we should start to record all of our phone conversations because we go deep. We go to the gut level when we just talk, when we rap. So we're just going back to the OG format right here.
Yeah, this is good, man. This is how it all started, man. We would just have phone conversations. They'd last an hour, 2 hours, and we would get into some deep stuff. And it's like, dude, we're having conversations that I'm not sure a lot of other people are having, but they probably should be having. So we should record these. And then that's kind of how we got to where we are today. So hitting a little rewind, taking it back to where it all started. And it's good to be back on with you, Chris. Looking good, per usual.
It's good to be with you, my brother. So why don't you start off, since we said something's been cracking? What's been cracking?
Yeah, so a lot's been cracking lately. Most specifically is my wrist. My wrist has cracked. One singular crack, but it was a good one. Devastating.
And you said, and we stopped the recording to start so we could go into the story. So I actually don't know. So you did say you were climbing. So take us from there.
Yeah, so as some of you guys know, and as you know, we are prepping for what I would consider a monumental task ahead of us at the end of the summer and into fall, where we are setting out to climb and hike all 15 14ers. For those that don't know, those are the 15 mountains above 14,000 feet elevation here in California, and we are doing all of them. So in preparation for that, Chris and I and one of our good friends have been training constantly. Part of that training is weightlifting, endurance, low heart rate, you know. Part of that also is hiking and climbing. Now, I don't have a lot of experience climbing, so I figured, you know, we're getting ready to do some climbing training this summer, but I figured, you know, I should be fine to go out by myself, with no guides, no instructors, no ropes, and just climb some stuff. Um, which, in hindsight, was a poor decision. I ended up climbing some rock faces, free solo, if you will. Um, and I'm lucky, to be honest, man. I'm lucky that I walked away with a broken wrist because I didn't have the right shoes. I obviously had no gear whatsoever, and I had no spotter or instructor or anyone from the bottom being like, "Hey, here's a good route." Chris and I, we've actually climbed some pretty gnarly stuff. I would consider gnarly. What I attempted to climb was far less gnarly than that, but I didn't have the benefit of having someone else there, a teammate, with me. And I got to a point where I was about, you know, 35, 40 feet up, um, this rock face. And, you know, it wasn't straight up and down. It had a grade to it, but, you know, and I just slipped. I lost my balance and my placement. And, I slipped and I fell and I landed on my arm and just snap. And I knew immediately. You know how your hand bends this way and that way, but doesn't bend that way? Yeah, well, mine bent that way. And
How
so,
far do you think you fell?
oh, I fell all the way to the bottom. Now, on the way to the bottom, there's boulder outcroppings on the way, you know, little ledges and stuff. So even though I was 45 feet up this rock, and it was probably like a 60 feet cliff, 60-foot cliff. Even though I was 45 feet, I didn't fall 45 feet. I probably fell 15 feet to a rock outcrop and then bounced off of that and then fell another, you know, 10 feet and then 20 feet. The last part was like a 20-foot fall, and that's where I landed on my arm at the bottom. But I'm super lucky, man. There was a couple outcrops that, you know, I could have fell in. You know, a leg could have gotten stuck. I could have broken a leg. You know, I've fallen before from heights, climbing and hiking, so I know kind of how to fall if there was such a thing as how to fall. So I think I did a fairly good job. I had a light pack on my back too, so that kind of shielded a lot of potential damage. But near the end, I dropped a good 20 feet, and there was really no good way to land. And I kind of got my arm wrapped around my back, and so I fell onto my back, onto my arm first. So yeah, and then it was like a 10-mile
Well,
hike
first off,
back
I'm
to the
I'm
car.
glad you're all right.
Yeah,
You said
thank you.
10?
Yeah, about 10. Yeah. So
Shit.
yeah, about halfway through, the shock had worn off, and I was no longer numb, and I was jogging at that point. I was like, "I gotta get the fuck out of here."
You're not worried about no more low heart rate at that point.
No, 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 not nothing. Um, yeah, so
Fuck, man. I'm glad you're okay because that's gnarly, man. Because knowing you probably didn't have a helmet on.
no, no helmet. Like I said, hindsight, like, I bit off. And it's not that the climbing itself was extraordinarily difficult, you know. It's stuff that you and I would climb. I just, like I said, I didn't have equipment. I didn't have a buddy. I didn't do things that I know you should do. So it's 100% on me. And I, you know, unfortunately learned my lesson the hard way. Um but it is a lesson that I will learn because I am super grateful that I only walked away with the broken wrist. It could have been far worse.
Fuck, man. It's an interesting segue actually, because on Friday I went up and I found this super sketchy ridge on
Oh
the
yeah.
backside of El Cajon,
Ooh.
and was like, cool, I'm going to do this for some muscular endurance, you know? So I put like 35 pounds in the pack, and like I went up and like, dude, it was straight up. And I got to a section where I was like, nah, man, like I'm going to come back up here like with a buddy, because I'm not
Yeah.
super comfortable with like where it's at,
Mm.
and started to trip Saturday. So Cameron was down here, and I hit
Right.
him up and I'm like, yo, like I want to go do this thing. It's this like epic climb. Like we're going to go do it tomorrow. And so Saturday morning, went up there and got onto something similar sounding to what you're
Yeah.
talking about. And dude, I panicked. Like it's never happened to me before.
Really?
So Cameron had gone up, and dude, I was on like a little ledge, like you're talking about, just like a little tiny ledge. I looked down and it was like pretty exposed.
Yeah.
And I looked up and was like, dude, I'm really not feeling this. And I like went to full panic, like fear
Oh
mode.
no.
So I like literally like I couldn't even sit, you know, like I could just like bend down, like, and just
Yeah.
kind of stayed there for like 15 minutes. And I was like, I'm going down, going down, going down. Like, this is not cool. Like, can't go up, gotta go down. And was like in full panic, dude, which was really weird for me because I don't like, that's never happened to me before.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And
Pretty
same thing, we
controlled.
went
Yeah.
and we didn't have ropes. And like in hindsight, I wish we would have.
Yeah.
But I was like, so I put my climbing shoes on, and I was like, fuck it. Like I just gotta go. And like, and
Yeah.
so like I just full sent it, got to the top. And then I was like, man, I was like, what's that about? And you know, we talk
Mm.
about like the mountains a lot, like helping bring stuff
Totally.
out. And for whatever reason, dude, like the next hour, I was just silent while we kept going up. And I was like, man, fear. I was
Mm.
like, what is that about? Like, what was this about for me? So for like an
Yeah.
hour, I just kind of sat in like that, like, wow, like that was really interesting. Like, why was I so fearful? Like, this is not something that
Totally.
was really that crazy. Done it right hundreds of times before. And like, I didn't get to like the why piece of it, but I absolutely was like, I can overcome this, right? Like
Yeah.
courage isn't like the absence of fear. Courage is like seeing the fear and feeling it and being able to like walk through it, you know? And
Yes.
so then
Totally.
like I literally could feel like that I overcame whatever this was about, and then was totally cool the rest of the day. The best part about this
Mm.
though is then we had to down climb this, and it was only 3 miles up, but we
Yeah.
went up 3,500 feet. So it
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
crazy up, right?
Yeah.
We come down and I get to this place where I had stopped the day before, and I went, hold on. I just somehow walked around the place where I had to climb up, where I was
Whoa.
panicking. And I was like, dude, the universe is trippy. Like I
Whoa.
could have somehow just walked around
That's
this place
crazy.
where I went to full panic. But instead, right, like I had to go through this thing,
Yeah.
apparently,
Yeah.
where I didn't see another way. Right. So, like, think of the metaphors there where, like, I couldn't see another way to, like, go up this thing or down this thing
Totally.
in that moment. But when I, like, had a fresh perspective, like, coming down, I totally found, like, a chill route where I just was
Mhm.
able to walk down and, like, not be sketched out. And I was like, man, the mountains are a trip, dude. Like, I
They
have no
sure are.
idea why I didn't see that I could have just like gone around this super sketchy thing on the way up. So I was like, well, I guess the lesson for the Saturday was I had to stare some fear in the eye and overcome that fear, and have the opportunity to kind of think about fear a little bit. And wow, fresh
Yeah.
perspective showed that I didn't even have to do that, but I couldn't see it in that moment. So it's, I don't know, really interesting. And like,
That
dude,
is
super
good, man.
bummed that like you broke your wrist. But I just thought it was interesting how you were climbing, I was
Yeah.
climbing, I panicked, you probably should have done some things differently.
Yeah,
But
well, after hearing what you kind of went through, what's interesting is that I had that same moment where I got to a place that was uncomfortable, sketchy, and um when I actually fell off this, I'd sat there for 5 minutes trying to plan out the next move, and it was a risky move. I basically
yeah,
had to like swing myself over, and once I got to the other side, catch myself, and and I was able to catch myself with the hands, but my feet, there was nothing for my feet, and so I just, um, and in that moment, there was like a sense of fear, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you should think of some other alternatives, or even just freeze up. And if that was like a split second, I was like, nope, whoop, and then fell. And so, after hearing that, it's interesting our two experiences with that, because I had a moment too where, fear had, but then it was instantly out. And, when I look back on my life, for the most part, that's kind of how I've dealt with fear, man, is, and that being said, just as I fell down the mountain, I've fallen a lot in life due to, looking at fear sometimes as like a personal challenge. Like I somehow don't measure unless I do this crazy gnarly thing, or unless I face that fear. I'm less of a man if I don't try to make this gnarly jump and break my wrist. Like it's baffling. It's
it's interesting you bring that up because I had actually posted something. I had written some content, and I think I had released it Thursday or Friday about how I realized I had been stuck in this place of like perfection,
mm,
but it was almost like analysis paralysis.
yeah,
Like I had all these
yeah,
things that I was doing or like not doing, but like I finally like saw it. I was like, this is a trip. Usually I'm exactly like you're saying, which is like I see the fear and I just like boom, whatever. Like I
right,
move through it. I take the risk, I take the challenge, like whatever happens, I'll deal with it. And I actually realized that I had been stuck in this place of like not doing a bunch of stuff,
mm,
including content and all these other things, because I was like, yeah, like it needs to be
totally,
perfect. I need to be better. I'm not good enough. Right. Which
right,
is exactly like you said. It's like so much back to these like kind of core beliefs.
yeah,
Um, so maybe that actually in hindsight was what I was facing was like, there's this like unknown and I don't know what it's about.
kind of
And
sounds
so
like it.
therefore I feel totally like almost paralyzed in it right now. Which as I mentioned, like I've never felt that
Yeah,
way on a rock, on a mountain. I've never had that like fear response to like paralyze me. But
right,
when you said that, it brought up that maybe that's the connection for me is that I had been in my life like not taking a bunch of action. I had been almost in this place of like inaction
yes,
because I was super scared for whatever reason. So I don't know. Maybe that's what I was facing up there.
yeah, man. And it's interesting too how that can change or come in waves. Um, it makes me think of, because for a large part of my life, I was the guy that when faced with fear would just like curl up in a ball and hide, or ostrich it, put my head in the sand and pretend like, you know, and then was kind of put in a position where I had to take the leap of faith and just jump, no matter how scared I was. And so then, like, I think through repetition too, sometimes we get, okay, this is now my go-to. And then like I break my wrist. So I'm interested to see now the next time I go up there, if I hesitate, if maybe I do kind of freeze up in the moment, or if I'm willing to take that jump again. That's what's going to be interesting for me in the context of fear and how I react to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I were talking about at one point that like the last time I was out climbing was one of the first times that I actually felt like comfortable. Now again, I was roped up and I
Right.
had right a belayer and all that.
Yeah.
And so like I had that sense of like that there's trust. But even in that, you got to really trust that guy behind you, right?
Totally.
To be able
Yeah.
to make sure that if you fall and all that. And I made some moves that I was like 25% sure I could do. But like, I was like, I'm going to do them because there's this piece of me that needs to be able to feel
Mm,
that like I can trust that like someone's got it. Because for someone like me,
yeah.
and this has come up a bunch this past week actually, is uh, Sasha will tell me like I'm the most independent person she's ever met, right? And then I started to break that down a little bit, which is actually that was a survival mechanism, right? Like I had to only count on me, right?
Totally.
And so like that independence, which is good, that I'm okay by myself and like feel like I can take care of myself and all
Right.
that. There's also a piece that then prohibits me from trusting others, from
Yeah.
engaging deeply, from
Yeah.
going deep with, in particular, I'll say other men, right?
Yeah.
Um, because it's like, yeah, I just don't have that trust. I wasn't raised with being able to trust male figures in my life.
Yes.
I wasn't, right. I didn't have that. And so it's for some reason that's been coming up too around where like, yeah, I've been willing to make that move on a mountain, but only for the first time was I really comfortable saying like, yeah, I'm probably going to eat it, but like, I know I'm going to be
Yeah.
okay even if I do eat it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've told you that same thing about yourself. That you're like the most independent, self-assured person I've ever met, you know? And I feel that. I feel that. It's interesting too, man. It's like life is just a life is just a trip. Um and the mountains for sure will show you things that you need to see, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
kind
and
of
all the
bummed that I
metaphors
have a
we're
broken
talking about.
wrist, but at the same time, like uh there's a lesson to be learned in that. I went out there by myself. Why? Because I don't really trust anyone, you know? Like you talk about another man belaying you and having the rope, like that gives me anxiety right now. I would much rather take a giant leap where I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it or not, rather than have the safety of another person, have my life in there. Like, oof, that gives me anxiety.
I know. But it's also why, right? Basically, there's very little people that I want to climb with
Right. Yeah.
because the
Yeah,
people,
that's true.
right? They're really the two people, as I
Yep.
know that, like, no matter what, like, got me, right? But what's even more interesting, so before this on Saturday, there's been uh, there's been a guy on LinkedIn who I've connected with on there and kind of followed him. And his name is
Nice.
Tim, and he's very into men's health, men's mental health. Like
Oh,
he's doing the deal. Like he's producing some dope content, and every month he calls a cold plunge in coffee, and it's literally at La Jolla Shores, right? Like right down the street. And so
okay.
like you go and you do a cold plunge. He brings the cold plunge tub with the ice and
Oh,
everything.
shit.
You do a
Yeah.
3 minute cold plunge, and then you just hang out with the dudes and you have coffee Saturday morning,
We're
right?
down
Like
at the
super,
beach?
yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
super mellow, super cool, right? But like I've avoided it for like the whole time he's done it. And part of
Yeah.
what this has brought out has been like, yeah, man, like that like sense of independence and lack of trust and lack of feeling like I can go deep with like a lot of other men, or even just like
Yeah.
have friends. I'll be honest, like making friends that are men, um, has like eluded me, right? And so I was like, nah, like I'm gonna go do this. First off, I don't like cold water, so I was like, oh, this is gonna be an interesting thing.
Who does, man?
Um, but like it was interesting to dive in because I've actually wanted to be producing more and more content around like men making man friends, because
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a taboo topic, like, and I
100%.
feel even strange talking about it with you, like, like I
Oh, you
I could
shouldn't,
feel
man.
I I shouldn't, yeah,
No,
I
you
should
shouldn't. I
feel,
literally, like, on Instagram 6 days ago, I posted, like, how do you make friends as an adult. Like that was my post, and I got like 30 responses from people that were basically all, I don't know.
Yeah. So it was like, so there's all these things that are like coming up, right? And maybe that's part of the fear stuff too. But I
Yeah.
felt it recently where I've had interactions that like I've really enjoyed with people.
Mm,
And I've been like, hey, like I could hang out with that person. And
yeah.
then part of me is like, nah, man, like, nah, that's not cool. Like, like how do you
Yeah.
do that? And why do you do that? And all this. And then that brings up a whole thing around like, can't I just be excited to like have a new friend that's a guy?
Right.
Like, I don't know, like that's trippy to me. So I was glad to
Totally.
like push through that and to do the cold plunge, which was awesome.
Double whammy. Yeah.
But also just like hang out with some guys and not feel like super awkward, right?
Yeah.
Um, about it.
Yeah, man, that's a tough one. That's something I struggle with a lot right now, man. Like, I got no problem going to the gym and like going and playing pickup basketball with guys for like 4 hours. And in that, like, I'm with them. This is my teammate. We're riding, we're talking, we're jamming, we're whatever. And then like game ends, and they're like, "Hey, you want to like go grab a bite?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got laundry." Like, what? Oh, I
Right.
gotta go feed my fish. I don't even have a fish, you know? And it's like, what's up with that, man? That's so weird. I'm the weirdo because I'm like, yeah, it's just it's difficult, man, and it's uncomfortable to talk about because it's like, as a man, I feel like I should have friends, you know? And I've had a lot of friends over the years, but currently circle's really small, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not looking to become Mr. Social, right? It's like I'm what they call like an ambivert, like I really thrive on being by myself and relaxing and recharging and all of that. And I can be really social and outgoing and charismatic and all that when I need to, right? And so
Right,
it's kind of like if I go to like a work conference, I can like be on for 2 or 3 days,
right,
but then
right,
like I got to go like into hiding for a minute and like totally recharge, reset, all this. So it's like I'm not trying to be like Mr. Social with plans, 4 nights a week and all that. But so I don't want like a circle of, associates or that but I also think like building some other close relationships. It's like
yeah.
it sounds weird when I even say it, but like is possibly exciting.
Yeah, man, all I have is, like, associates, really. Like, I have, like, 3 friends and a gang associates, that I
Right.
don't associate with. So it's, I don't know. It's definitely something I've thought about lately, and it goes above and beyond just, like, friendships for me, man. It's like relationships in general is a weird I'm in a weird place with that, the idea, the concept, you know. There's a lot going on for me personally in regards to just relationships in general with another human being, um, friend or otherwise. So
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting, right? Because I think even to more of an extent, right? Like the charisma and all of that you have, right? Like is totally shines, right? Like put you up on a stage and
yeah,
like you shine, right? And you can go up and do poetry, you can rap, you could sing, you could dance, you could speak, right?
right.
Like it's like across the spectrum that like you're good, right? Like on a stage. But then like what is the thing that gets in the way? And it's the same for me, which is why you're not like, hell yeah, I'll grab dinner after the game, right? Like what is that about that like there's that hesitation with both you and me about that?
Yeah. Well, I'll let you speak on to why you think that is for you, and maybe it's the same I think for me, it's two parts. Is that up on stage, man, I thrive in large settings simply because like I can keep everyone kind of at
Okay.
arm distance
Sure.
way. And with that, there's a sense of control, right? Like I control what you hear, what you see, how you might perceive me, right? Like I
Yeah.
am the director of the Roman show, so
Sure.
in large settings, I'm great. And even like on a surface level one-on-one setting, I'm able to kind of orchestrate it all to be what I want you to what I think you want me to be, right?
Yeah.
But the other part also is it's a survival instinct, man. It's like there's still a part of me, you know. I'm not sure how big or how small that part of me is today after all the work that I've done, but there's still a significant part of me deep down that wants people to like me, but more than that, doesn't want to be hurt, you know?
Mm.
So there's a part of me that will make an educated guess on whether or not someone will hurt me. And, it's like a risk manager. If the odds are greater than 15%, then I'm not going to do it. So, like, I don't know you. I don't know what your intentions are. You want to go out to dinner? That seems harmless, but why? Right. And then when I ask why, I fuck myself up because, there's 100 reasons why, and 10 of them might be to hurt me somehow for some reason. So I'm out. I'm just out, you know, which sucks, man. That sucks. And the biggest problem with that, and then I'll flip the question back on you. The biggest problem with that for me is that it's not always like a conscious thought or decision. It's just like instinctual reaction, you know. Sometimes I'm able to catch it, and then I could kind of, you know, but for the most part, I don't think about it until afterwards. And I'm like, "What happened? Fuck, did it again," you know? It's like that survival instinct. It's like yeah. So for me, it's control, and I don't wanna get hurt, which the control is solely because I don't wanna get hurt. So really, it's just I don't wanna get hurt.
It's a lot of insight, honestly, to be able to take it like that deep, just like off the cuff.
Well, no, I've thought about it a lot. So
Got it.
yeah, like I said, man, I don't know how much of me that person is still today because I've done a significant amount of work on this, but still today, as evidenced by the fact that I didn't go to dinner last week with someone I played basketball with that was like, "Yo, a group of us guys are going out. You should join." And I said no without even thinking about it. So it's still there. What
And
do you
I
relate to
actually
that
said,
or
yeah, I mean, I actually said yes recently, which
damn?
was cool, to a
Dope.
homeboy that I work out with. Same thing,
Yeah.
like literally
Okay.
every week, twice a week with my trainer, right? And like we always just have good conversation, whatever, and
That's
same thing.
dope.
He's like, yo, like, let's get up. And we did. And like, dude, I had a great time. And then I was
Yeah.
like, what is it about? And for me,
Right.
it's actually, I get into this place where I'm like, I shouldn't be excited to have a friend because like that's not manly.
Oof.
And like, what is that about? Like, this
Dang,
is what I'm
man.
going to start doing some content on for sure, because I think it's just like, if right, you and I've talked about all this all the time, is like, if it's happening to us, it's happening to other people. We're not
For
like
sure.
unique in that. We're
Given.
not unique in
Yeah.
our human experience.
Given.
It's happening. So it's like, I'm gonna start putting some stuff out about this. But it's literally like, I've been like, I'll be driving home from something and I'll be like, man, like I like had a fun time, that was cool. And I'll be like, nah, like, nah, like that's not, and like, you can't talk about that. And then I'll be like, all awkward. What do I do next?
Yeah.
Do I reach out and say, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, And so I don't know. I mean, I tend to probably agree without like having the depth of insight you have right now, that it probably is, again, it's control, it's protective, it's,
For sure.
hey, I know my people. I know who I can trust. I know who's got my back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't need any more friends. Okay. Like, it's all this
Yeah.
like head talk. But I think you're probably right that it's probably protective, and it's probably like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to act or feel a certain way. I don't
Yeah.
want to feel stupid. Um, but it is interesting because it's literally like I got two dudes' phone numbers from the coffee event on Saturday, and like just dude,
Yeah.
just totally vibing,
That's
like,
dope.
yeah, you do the same shit, like you're into the same stuff. This is super cool, right? And even today I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I should just literally hit these dudes up and be like, yo, you want to get some dinner? But then there was
Right.
still that part of me that was like, nah, maybe not.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a little easier today because I did go to dinner with a buddy, right,
Right. You
recently, where
broke
like
through it
I feel like
once.
now I got like, yeah, now okay.
You got some
But there's still
experience.
like a very awkward thing for some reason. And it's not
Yeah.
even like I'm not meeting people. It's similar to you. Like you're out there living, you're meeting people.
Right.
I don't have a problem meeting the people. It's actually like forming the bond.
Right. Right. Yeah. And what's a trip, man, is that we're talking about this and I'm like, yeah, I say no to everything. Well, that's only half true. Is I I say no to men. I say yes to women all the time, man. Well, not like all the time. And it's not even like on in a potential dating situation. Like I probably today have more friends that are women than I have friends that are men. And I'm making new women friends all the time. And it's
Mm,
like there's no part of me that is interested in a relationship with this woman. It's simply platonic. I just met her. She seems cool. Let's go grab a bite. We're chopping it up. We're having deep and meaningful conversations. And then boom, I got a new friend, right? And we hit each other up. Hey, how you doing? Cool. What are you doing today? Hiking? Cool. Let's go hike. And then like I'll meet a guy similar to me in every facet. And they'll be like, hey, you want to hike? And I'll be like, oof, I don't know, you know? And so as you're saying that, this is coming to me because I haven't even thought about that. But it's true because I went out to dinner like a week and a half ago with a girl that I'd met at the beach, just randomly at the beach, and we started chopping it up. And it was like no part of that was like, hey, you want to go on a date? There was no expectation of that. It was simply like, hey, what are you doing later? Oh, going out for food. Man, I'm hungry too. You want to go? Yeah, let's roll. It was like without hesitation. And that's been my experience my whole life, you know? And I always thought with that, I always thought that I was less of a man because I had more women friends. So I would keep that on the low. I wouldn't tell anyone like I hung out with chicks because I thought that maybe then people would think I was, I don't know, like uh maybe gay, or that I was in the
mm,
closet, or maybe that I was more feminine than masculine, which, to pull back the covers, I'm probably like 50-50 feminine, masculine, to be honest. Like I don't know if I want to share all this on this platform, but there's a lot of qualities about me that are very sensitive, and
sure.
you know, and I like those parts of me. So for
Yeah.
me, I struggle making friends with men in particular. It's a trip.
So I want to leave it there because I need to use the bathroom real quick. So hang on.
You gotta take a dump. Cool. Jojo, I love you. You want to go to Destiny soccer game with me
Right now?
in like an hour
I want to go in and talk.
before the soccer game?
I'm hungry.
You want burrito? You girl, you didn't eat yours.
Yes, I did. Look.
No, how about we go watch Destiny soccer game and then we'll get some food.
Because there's food there.
Oh, I'm back on. Okay, love you.
So I just had this thought,
Yeah,
which is like a little off topic, but not really. It's a great format, by the way.
I like it.
So whatever we end up calling it, right now I'm just calling it gut check, but maybe we'll call it
Love it.
something different. The other thing, right, is how magical I feel like we got podcast topics right here. It's like, we don't even really need to do we don't even need to figure out what we need to do. I think the next podcast episode is man friends.
Ooh,
You know
that's
what I mean?
good.
Like, we just go into whatever, like gut check, right? We just have our normal conversations. And then it's like, yeah, this feels like this deserves a
Yeah,
deep dive.
yeah,
Cool. All
I
right.
agree.
Next podcast episode. Stay tuned. At the gut level, man friends.
Yeah,
I feel like we're going there. Like, I feel like it feels stigmatized to me. I feel like it feels awkward to me, which probably means we should talk about it.
totally. I agree.
I'm digging this though.
I like it. Yeah, we
Today
should
was like
probably.
for real old school.
Yeah,
This was every time we'd hang up the phone like 6 months ago. It was,
yeah.
fuck, we should have
Like,
recorded
damn, we
that.
should have got
Like,
that, bro. I wish I had some of those sound clips, man, because some of the deepest, wisest shit I've ever heard in my life came off of some of those phone calls. You know?
I mean, but this was deep right here.
Yeah,
I mean, you think about where we started. Literally, all that we had was, I saw a cast on your wrist. I said, let's push record,
yeah,
right? And we said, what happened? And we
yeah.
went, what happened with that, to fear, to overcoming fear, to staring that down, to, and somehow we ended up talking about man friends and the challenges of building male relationships.
Perfect.
Like, how interesting.
Yeah, it
This is
is a trip.
perfect. Well, if you're joining us today, thanks for joining us. This is the first of what I think at this point is going to be many gut checks. Just
Yeah, I'm
free
thinking.
flow. What's up? Where you at? How's your head? How's your heart? What's cracking? Boom. Hopefully no more bones. But,
Yeah, I'm thinking that probably what we'll do is we'll keep the old format that we started. I like that, the questions, the engagement, the topic. That's good. But coming in here and just being able to, what's on the brain, what's on the heart, what's going on, and just kind of flow with it, man. Because I'm not sure that had you and I sat down and been like, all right, cool, what topic do we want to talk about today? We probably wouldn't have been like broken bones, climbing mountains, fear, man friends, and all that. Like that we probably would have never gotten there unless we just hopped on and talked. And look, I would tell you, whoever's listening, that you know find someone in your life, anyone that you can have these types of conversations with, because again, man, I feel a ton of gratitude, Chris, for you, because long before we started this podcast, for many years, you and I have had these deep and meaningful conversations where we're able to
right,
like break down stuff in our lives, process it. Okay, what are you going through? How did you deal with it? And it's like we've built such a deep relationship where like I feel like you and I alone have processed and broken down so many barriers and
right.
stigmas back and forth that it's made me a better person, and I'm grateful for that, man.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and I think the reason that we started this was
Yeah.
because Rome and I started to say, right, and we've talked about this in former episodes, but it's like, if you're just joining us, is that we started to have these conversations around like, can we really be the only ones that are feeling this
Yeah.
way? And like, you know, you'd go on YouTube, you'd go on places, and like there weren't a lot of places where people were just having open dialogue and deep conversation, you know, and
No.
especially from the perspective, as we talk about in the beginning, of not being the experts, right? And
Right.
trying just to be in a position where we can ask each other the right questions and right and figure shit out
Totally.
right on our own without that. And look, and nothing wrong with experts, right? Like you
Right.
and I are technically experts in certain things, but I think we try to keep it here where, you know, the belief is that we probably all have the answers. We just might not have the right question. So
So yeah, totally. So like,
this is exciting, brother.
comment, subscribe, join, and hit us up, guys. Like, we're having these dope conversations. We can also have these dope conversations with you. We would love to. You know, let's start a conversation. Let's talk about some stuff. You can hit us up on all social platforms at the gut level. Also at the gut level at gmail.com. You can shoot us an email. We will respond, either young CB3 or myself or both of us. Also, Chris has been talking a lot about LinkedIn. He is popping over there on LinkedIn, dropping wonderful content. So go check that out too and engage in that as well. Hit us up on TikTok, obviously YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere that you can be, we are. And hit us up.
Rummy rum, as usual. Love you, brother.
Another banger.
Another one.
Have a good one, guys.
Thanks for tuning in,
Peace.
y'all. We'll see you next time.
Okay.